The man was crawling on the outside of the 35th floor window because he had been trapped in this unfinished building for nearly 20 days. Not long ago, Kevin had started searching for an apartment to marry his girlfriend. However, a standard one-bedroom apartment with a kitchen cost at least $20,000 a month, which Kevin couldn't afford. Just when he was out of options, a man called out to him, saying he had a brand new apartment available for rent. But when Kevin arrived, he found that it was a completely vacant building. The man explained that the building had been completed for 2 years, but there were some issues with the lease, so the occupancy certificate hadn't been issued yet. The man reassured him that living here for a year would be no problem. Looking at the brand new renovations and fully furnished apartment, Kevin quickly signed the lease, moved in that very night, and set up the apartment to get ready to bring his girlfriend over the next morning. However, the next morning, he woke up to find that his phone hadn't charged at all at first. He thought it was just a poor connection, so he plugged it back in and went to wash up. But when he turned on all the faucets, no water came out. In a hurry to meet his girlfriend, Kevin didn't think much of it and used bottled water to wash his face quickly. Then, after changing his clothes, he got ready to leave. But when waiting for the elevator, he realized he had forgotten his phone. He immediately turned back to grab it. His girlfriend called to remind him, saying if he didn't hurry, her family would force her into an arranged marriage. But while he was on the phone, the door slammed shut because of the strong wind on the balcony, and the key was still on the outside. Trapped inside, Kevin couldn't open the door without the key. He tried using pliers and kicking the door, but nothing worked. Kevin quickly called a locksmith, but before he could finish the address, his phone died. In a panic, he ran to the bedroom to charge it. But just then, the air conditioner automatically turned off, and the power indicator light went out. The whole building lost power. Kevin, frustrated and desperate, grabbed a wrench and started hitting the door, but the lock didn't budge. Instead, he injured his finger. He went out to the balcony and yelled for help. But with the height of the 35th floor, no one could hear him. He lay by the door crack, shouting, but the empty hallway only echoed back. The whole building was empty, with only him living there, with no other choice. Kevin went back to tend to his wound. That night, he ate some crackers from the day before, and then grabbed a flashlight to continue signaling for help. But in the massive cityscape, his light barely made a difference. The next morning, the room still had no water or power, and Kevin's frustration grew. He looked at the toilet, which had turned green, and decided to drink from it despite the unsanitary conditions. He used a ladle to collect urine, forced himself to drink it, and immediately threw up for half an hour. Just as he was on the brink of dehydration, it started pouring rain outside. Kevin was overjoyed, standing by the window and drinking from the rainwater. Then, he found containers to collect more water, but the process was painfully slow. So Kevin took apart the toilet tank, tied it to the window with a rope, used a bag to channel the water, and a tube to drain it. With this makeshift system, the water tank filled quickly. Kevin then carried the freezer from the kitchen, solving his water problem. Next, he had to figure out food. He grabbed a slingshot and spent his days in the living room, hunting pigeons that landed on the balcony. Kevin was a vegetarian, but now, in order to survive, he had to abandon his principles, though he was temporarily safe from death. He knew staying here wasn't an option. Using broken glass shards, Kevin observed the environment on the building's outer wall. He noticed that the 30th floor balcony didn't have a security net, so maybe he could escape from there. But to get there, he had to pass through the balcony's security net. To break free from his prison, Kevin decided to take a risky chance. He spent several days cutting and heating the metal security net with a metal shard. After several long hours, he finally cut through half of the steel pipe. Kevin could no longer wait. He put on his shoes and launched an intense attack at the weakened spot. Just when he felt on the brink of collapse, the steel pipe finally snapped without hesitation. Kevin pried open the security bar and climbed out the window. With no safety measures in place, he started climbing down the 5 floors below him. Any small mistake could be fatal. Kevin focused intently on the security net, not daring to look around. Soon, his foot made no noise, indicating he had reached the 30th floor. He took off his belt and looped it around his neck, adjusting the position, and tied one end to the steel pipe. Then, carefully, he began to lower himself, using the belt as support. With the help of the belt, his foot successfully reached the lower security net. Then, holding the top wall with both hands, he slowly shifted sideways. A single wrong move could have been disastrous, but in the end, he made it safely, holding on to the protruding wall. He reached the 30th floor balcony with his already weak legs. He kicked the balcony door open. Fortunately, the apartment door was unlocked. Kevin gathered his last bit of strength and walked down the stairs. After 20 days of surviving in the lonely building, Kevin finally escaped his prison. The sunlight hit his face, reigniting his hope for life. Months later, Kevin returned to the 35th floor. The apartment had been completely renovated. The door lock that tortured him was gone, and only the broken railing on the balcony remained, a reminder of the struggle he once faced.